Earl, thanks for joining me again on Relationship Radio today.
You're welcome. And it's always good to be with you. It's
Yeah,
amazing what
absolutely.
technology can do. And we can be across the planet from each other and
Literally.
have these conversations.
Yeah, literally. All the way in South Africa. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about why should I choose to stay married? So we're going to role play this. Okay, so let's treat this kind of like a coaching session. Like you're my coach, okay? So the situation is my spouse just cheated on me. Okay, I've just figured it out. Why should I choose to fight for the marriage?
Yeah, and it's such a good question. And it's something that I think we hear a lot. So you're not alone in that kind of thought. If you're feeling out there like, man, like I'm the only one thinking this, should I stay married? Shouldn't I stay married? Why should I stay with this person that's hurt me so badly? I think that's such a valid question. I think it's a valid thought as well. And the one short answer I would give you is like, obviously, we'll never be able to decide that for you. Like we can help you figure that out. But as a coach and as marriage helper, we'll never tell you, you should stay married for X and Y reasons. We can give you some options and say, hey, think about this. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the decision really will lie with you. And I know that's a hard question. I mean, it's a hard decision to make because, hey, you've got a history together. You've spent time with this person. And so the first thing I would kind of ask you in this case is like, all right, your spouse has hurt you. If you decided to leave, what are the alternatives that wait for you? What would the consequences be if you didn't reconcile?
Yeah, I mean, I would be by myself. I would have, a little bit of my support system would be gone. But wouldn't it be easier to just start over with somebody else?
Yeah, like, I mean, that is a great question. And the thing is this, little bit of history. And I think if we can all agree to this, anyone watching this video, we're all screwed up a little bit. Like we're all flawed. We've all done stuff and sometimes still do stuff that is not good, where we hurt our spouse, we hurt our friends, we hurt our kids. And obviously not in an intentional way, but this is just human nature. We're flawed. We're not going to get it right. We'll never be perfect. So that's a very valid thought. Like, yeah, this person has brutally hurt me. They've had an affair. They've done all of this stuff. I mean, there's multitude of things. But who's to say that the person you're going to is going to be perfect? Because in our experience, everyone is flawed. So sure, you could leave your spouse. That is obviously your decision. But you got to decide like, okay, is what I'm going to actually going to be better? And so, yeah, you might start another relationship with this other person, but we see this so much in a lot of the clients we deal with. Eventually, that person is also going to have pushes. They're also going to have behaviors and attitudes and mindsets and things that are going to be evoking negative emotions in you. So there is no guarantee that they would never, ever hurt you as well. There is just no guarantee.
Then how should I even approach this? Like what are the reasons that I should choose to stay married? Obviously, it would be difficult for me to go and obviously date somebody else or marry somebody else because these other problems or these same problems might come up with a different person. But I feel like there's so much hurt and pain in my current situation. Like, why should I stay?
Maybe we need to go kind of back a step as well, because if someone hears me say that, like, well, you know what, the person you could be going to, leave your spouse, go to another person, that person's also going to be flawed. Okay, well, then it might just be better. I still have to deal with all this pain, but you know what, maybe it's better for me just to be alone, which I've heard as well, is people are like, I don't necessarily want another relationship, but you know what, I'll just honestly live on my own, which is also a very valid thought. I would typically just go down that road and say, okay, look, alone could be great for a while. And I mean, this wasn't in our marriage crisis, but this is something that I preferred to be alone at times. But even that has its limits, because at some point you go, you know what, I crave that emotional connection. I think human beings, we are wired that way. We want that partnership. We want that someone to share life with. And so while lonely or being alone can be great initially, even that has its pushes. Because now, like, hey, I've experienced this beautiful thing. Oh, who do I share this with? And then you might actually say, oh, you know what? I can share that with my friends. I've got a good friendship group. But what if those friends get married and have kids of their own? Now suddenly those guys or those people that you were hanging out with are no longer as available as you thought. And so what we see typically, the older you get, you start getting to the space of like, oh my goodness, I'm actually really alone. And that sucks, because I think all of us have this innate thing, like we don't really want to die alone. And so a question you've got to ask yourself is like, yeah, like this hurts and this sucks. And we will never minimize or downplay what anyone is feeling or what you're going through. But we also have to consider the big picture. Like, okay, yeah, if I do leave, is that really an acceptable, available alternative? Or could there be another option? Which you ask is like, okay, yeah, I've got all this pain. This person is maybe repetitive, and they've come and they've said, you know what, I want to come clean and I want to work on the marriage, but hey, we still got all this pain. We would suggest right off the bat, I want to say, get to our workshop. Like, I don't have the time in the remaining couple of minutes that we have here to unpack everything. But what I do want to say is that no matter what you've been through, no matter how much pain you've gone through, there is always grounds for reconciliation as well. Not always. I mean, I say that in the sense of like, there's other options. We don't have to just go for the one route, which is a lot of times people go, well, I've been hurt, I've been cheated on, I'm just out. But we can tell you stories, and if you find that in our membership and in our reconciliation stories of hundreds, and there's way more than just what's on our website, of people that said, you know what, yes, this pain has occurred, but you know what, we worked through it. We were able to forgive each other. But beyond just forgiving, work through the pain, heal, but not just heal, like I said earlier in the previous podcast, and just I'll say it again, but have a marriage that's not just hanging on by a thread, but something that is truly thriving and succeeding. And so what I would suggest in that case, like, yeah, you're dealing with a whole lot of pain and it does hurt like hell. But there are alternatives to divorce. There are alternatives to separation. And we as coaches, we as a marriage helper and part of our workshop can help you walk through or navigate that different path. Which again, we can't do right now, but there is another path. But what I'm suggesting, nutshell, keep an open mind to other perspectives and opportunities, because when we're in pain, our emotion often gives us like blinkers, like tunnel vision, like this is the only decision I have. And that's not always the case. There's always multiple decisions. And we're only ever one strategy away from success.
Kind of coming out of this role-playing exercise, if someone comes to you and is very frantic, panicking, not calm at all, what is the first step that you would suggest those people take?
A lot of times when folks have just found out, or even, in the first couple of weeks when you're finding out, like maybe your spouse has had an affair, or man, your spouse has gambled away $100,000 worth of debt, that kind of thing is going to create an emotional reaction. And we would typically suggest, feel what you need to feel. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be angry. But then we've got to decide, what are we going to do with that emotion? Because if we live in that pain, that's typically where we get stuck. And if we ruminate and just think about, hey, you know what, my spouse has done this and all this pain and all that thing, what you focus on, you're going to feel. What you feel the most, you're going to act on. And so if I'm just focused on all the stuff that's gone wrong, all the consequences, all the negative, all the pain, all the hurt, I'm going to feel all those emotions. So I'm going to feel the frustration, the anger, the despondency, the fear, the anxiety. And when I feel all of those emotions, I typically act on that, which means I might become snappy. I might become short. I might become disrespectful. I might become, just those little digs all the time. I might become cynical, resentful. I mean, there's so many other emotions. Vice versa, and this is not erasing the consequences, but if I focus on some of the positive, some of the potential outcomes, solutions, good things, I'm going to feel all those emotions: hope, peace, joy, comfort, courage. And then typically I'm going to respond like that. So for someone who's just really struggling, like emotionally, typically I would point them to, what are you focusing on the most? And if it's everything outside of you, external, like your spouse in the situation, I want to try and redirect you to focus on the things that you can control, which is yourself. And our toolkit, which I don't know if you want to talk about it, but our Calm toolkit is ideal for this because it takes your eyes off of just all the chaos, the situation around you, and puts it on your mind and your focus on something that you actually can control, which is yourself. And that sets you on a path to just rewire the brain from chaos into just calm and solution-minded rather than just focused on the problem.
Yeah. And like Rold said about this, the Calm Toolkit, if you want to get the Calm Toolkit, as well as every other toolkit that we offer, we actually have that inside of our membership. So you can click right here if you're watching on YouTube, or the link will also be down in the show notes if you're listening on podcasts or on YouTube. And you'll be able to click right there, go learn all about our membership and get signed up if that's something that you want to do. Rold, last question. One specific question that we've gotten a couple of times is, what happens if, like, I want to put like, you've convinced me, like, I'm okay. I'm going to put this marriage, or try to put this marriage back together. I'm going to stand for my marriage. What do I do if I want to do it, but I feel like if I do it, then my spouse is going to win. They've done the wrong. I can't let them win. What would you say to somebody who has that line of thinking?
I guess I would always point us back to the fact that none of us are perfect. And that means that all of us have the capacity to do some really bad stuff. That doesn't make us a bad person, but that gives us the capacity to make mistakes, do the wrong thing, hurt our spouse. And sometimes if the roles were reversed, who knows? I might have been in that situation. Like, given the right set of circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. So I always think of in the sense, like, I'm imperfect, Tammy's imperfect, we're going to hurt each other down the line. But if we constantly are seeing each other as the enemy, if we're keeping score, like, you know what, she did that and she did that, that's not fighting for unity. That is just going to bring division. But the way I see it is like this often is like, we're a team. We're complete opposites. We're individuals. We have our own likes, we have our own dislikes, our own personalities, our own behaviors, good and bad. But if we keep on seeing each other as individuals, the team never wins. And if you look at any team sport, there's this one guy that's just always doing his own thing. We always criticize him. Hey, that guy's not a team player. Marriage is very much the same. We are a team. And so if I start thinking of myself differently, like, hey, we're both flawed. We're both going to mess up at times. But if we're constantly focusing on how the team wins, now I suddenly see Tammy in a different light. I don't see her as this person that's flawed and going to make mistakes, because, hey, tomorrow I can make a terrible mistake that hurts her deeply. Mm-hmm. And so I think of it this way, man, we're both flawed, but we're both growing, we're both maturing, and we both have the potential to even be better. But it's not a me, myself, and I story, this. Marriage is always a partnership. It's a team. We're going to do this together. And if we can focus on how the team wins, it reframes how I see my spouse. Because even though they might fall, I'm not going to laugh at them and look at them. Oh, look at you. You've just done this terrible thing. I'm going to pick them up and go, hey, you know what? I could have done the same thing. But you know what? Let's pick this up and let's go forward. So typically that's kind of the thought and mindset that I would have behind, like, hey, we're all messed up, but we can always have the potential to do the right thing.
Got to fight for unity, as you said. I love that. Rold mentioned earlier in the episode about our 3-day workshop. If you want to learn more about our 3-day workshop, you can click the link here, or you can go to marriagehelper.com/book now. It'll take you to a form that you fill out, and you can book a call with one of our workshop advisors. And they're not coaches, they're not therapists. They will not be able to, completely coach you through your situation, but they will be able to take all of the things that are happening in your life right now and lead you to what we have that we offer that can best fit your situation. So again, if you want to do that, you can head to marriagehelper.com/book now, or click the link here or down in the show notes. Rold, thanks so much for joining me again today.
Yeah, it's good to be with you, my friend.
We'll see you in the next episode.